The United Nations is warning that Israel's 11-year blockade on Gaza is preventing the Palestinian territory's recovery from the 2014 war and crippling its economy. The UN Development Programme found chronic water and power shortages have worsened the long-term impact of the conflict on Gaza. Planned reconstruction work has also fallen well behind schedule. Meanwhile, Gaza's population of 2 million people continues to grow quickly despite what the UN describes as substandard living conditions. Well, let's speak to Robert Vallent, who is the spokesman for the UN Development Programme. He joins us live from Gaza. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, sir. So a UN report has described conditions in Gaza as unlivable. Tell us about what the situation is like now. What has led to these conditions worsening in the last 10 years?
Well, the situation is indeed unlivable, and it's reaching consequences that can go far beyond our imagination. You're having people in Gaza right now that are living with a 50 shekel per week. We are talking about $15 per week. You're having 56% of the youth unemployed, essentially jobless, and a staggering 78% of young women unemployed. This is a situation that is not only unlivable, but we are having a context in which the economy is completely collapsing. The whole productive sector, the services, everything that relates to livelihoods and the dignified, self-sustaining capacities of Gaza are really going haywire. The economy not only is collapsing, but people are living under conditions that are unimaginable. There exists nowhere in the world right now a 2 million population that lives with only 2 hours electricity per day. Water is impregnated with waste and wastewater. Essentially, this is becoming a disaster, and it needs to stop.
Right, but let me ask you this,
the reason why,
let me ask you this. There has been continuous humanitarian assistance to Gaza, hasn't there been? Has that not been sufficient, the humanitarian assistance that's been provided to Gaza over the years?
The issue is that one can provide whatever level of humanitarian assistance, but the Gazans are not supposed to be relegated only to the case of a humanitarian basket case, essentially. Gazans right now are not able to access basic things that are basic rights, like electricity, that allow them to store and to keep food stored, and they are not able to access basic infrastructure for them to be able to have their economic prospects progressing. It's not just a matter of food. People are not necessarily in a situation of starvation, but they are in a critical situation. And this is a man-made situation that requires political action and decisions.
Let me just ask you then on that, on what you see the solution being. You have an area today, a country, a region, Gaza, that is completely isolated. You have a population that's constantly growing, and as you've said yourself, the situation, the humanitarian situation is a catastrophe. How do we then avoid a total catastrophe in Gaza today? What needs to be done? What is your message, if you will, to the international community today?
Well, the message to the international community is that it is not sufficient simply a relaxation of the blockade and of the restrictions. The Gazan people need a lifting of the blockade. This is extremely clear. In addition, what is required is that not only stopgap measures of a short-term type are provided to keep people surviving, that people are also provided with a critical capital investment for them to be able to sustain themselves in a dignified manner, which means that there needs to be a plan and a strategy on the long-term level to ensure the economic and institutional rehabilitation and recovery of Gaza. And this requires clearly that intra-Palestinian divisions stop, that national unity is given a chance, that the blockade is not only halted but is lifted, and that a political solution is brought about for the sake of not keeping 2 million people hostage of political equations to which they do not necessarily belong.
Thank you so very much for speaking to us. Robert Vallent, spokesman for the UN Development Programme, joining us there from Gaza. Thank you for your time.